All right, you guys, happy Tuesday. Where to begin? Well, in the final days leading up to Charlie Kirk's assassination, Charlie was pretty busy, right? He went on a first time trip to Asia, quite a quick trip, at least a quick turnaround to go first to Korea for a couple of days and then off to Japan. And honestly, if I was a conspiracy theorist, and I kind of am one, I might think at this stage that the timing of that trip might have been intentional because something was going on back home that they didn't want him to see. Well, what I'm about to tell you guys today is going to positively blow your mind. I just cannot see how this would lead to anything other than a full confession from the government about the military's involvement in his assassination, but I'm just going to deliver the facts and see where they land. Welcome back to Candace. I am just going to tell you guys exactly how everything came about, everything that I'm about to deliver to you. Yesterday was a holy day of obligation in the Catholic Church. It was the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. A day of obligation means that a day in which you are required to attend Mass outside of, obviously, typically Sundays. And so as soon as we concluded this podcast, I grabbed my jacket and I ran out the door, okay? And as I was sitting through Mass, deciding, I guess, what was on my mind to pray about, for whatever reason, I got on my knees and I was not expecting this to come out, but I just focused my prayer on wanting something to be delivered to me, a piece of evidence that would help us put together the full picture of this assassination. Obviously, we all know that what we are being told is not true. We all know that nothing that we have been presented with makes any practical sense, but there are sort of smoking guns in this that are missing, right? It's one thing to point out all the lies, but we need to also have solid, concrete proof of something that took place that was out of the ordinary in the days leading up, maybe, I don't know, a planning session. Well, I got back home after this very intentional prayer and did my routine, had a very late dinner, went up and said goodnight to the kids, got myself ready for bed, sat in bed, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to open the tips box. And I kid you not when I say that it was the very first email that I saw, the very first email that I opened up, and it really didn't have any details. It was a young woman, and she said, "You really should call my friend. It is absolutely urgent, and he has information that you need to hear." And don't tell me why. I don't know what came over me, but maybe it was this intentional prayer. I said, I'm just going to call him right now. 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes after this email hit my inbox, I was calling this person and I had no idea what it was going to lead to, whether it was going to be a totally insane person or whether or not it was going to be a very swiftly answered prayer. The person that I spoke with, his name is or was Harry, and he told me a story which I have since fact-checked various elements, the elements that I could fact-check, and it's legit. This is a legit story that I'm about to share with you, and I want to say before I relay it that the descriptions of the people are based off of his own memory, but the facts pertaining to where he was, whether he was where he says he was, for the reasons that he says that he was there, he is being honest, okay? I can tell you that he is being 100% honest, and you are free to look further into this. I am certain he is going to probably be doing a lot of interviews in the near future. I can also factually state that there was an incident report, so this was recorded, and what transpired on September 8th that caught him by surprise was something that he thought was a part of a broader military conspiracy against him. He could not fully comprehend why what was happening, okay? So let's start actually 35 years ago, because you need to know who this man is. In 1990, this young man named Harry Myers discovered something that would shape the next 3 decades of his life, okay? He was at the bottom of the military chain. He was just 20 years old, and he was put on what was actually a brand new command, the first ever Joint Task Force 6. And this new command was being created down at the border by President George H.W. Bush, and it was presented to the American public as, look, a war on drugs with the help of Colin Powell. And it should be noted that this took place, just to kind of get you back into what was going on at the beginning of the 1990s, this took place just after the Iran-Contra affair, right? The Iran-Contra affair was from, I think, 1981 to 1986, happened under Reagan. And for those of you who are not read into massive CIA scandals, this was the scandal when the American public got to learn that our CIA was actually trafficking drugs and weapons throughout South America. A scandal which, if you guys have followed our Epstein series, we now know that he was also involved in the Iran-Contra scandal. It essentially shook the foundation of Reagan's White House. And during that time, during Reagan's tenure, George H.W. Bush was the vice president, okay, throughout this scandal. So when George H.W. Bush then decided that he was going to run as a president of the United States, and he did run and he ran in 1988, just a couple of years following that affair, he had to really hit hard on drugs at the border, and declare that this White House was going to do all that it could to stop these drugs from flooding into America. Take a listen to him saying what they were going to be cracking down on.
This is crack cocaine, seized a few days ago by drug enforcement agents in a park just across the street from the White House. It could easily have been heroin or PCP. It's as innocent looking as candy, but it's turning our cities into battle zones, and it's murdering our children. Let there be no mistake. This stuff is poison.
So you hear the directive from the then president, H.W. Now, our protagonist in the story is Harry, right? He's 20 years old, and he's at the bottom of the military totem pole, and he gets attached to this new command, this new Southern Command. Previously, there had never been that joint task force, and specifically, he was a part of an operation that came to be known as Operation Catacomb. He describes himself, and I'm going to put this in quotations, as a lowly military censor guy assigned to this Joint Task Operation 6, and they were to cover half of Arizona and Mexico. And I'm going to read this next portion of his story directly from him, okay? And I quote, "In just 6 days, I planted sensors, translated data, and skipped the chain of command and gave proof of the existence and pinpointed the location of the first ever discovered Sinaloa cartel underground rail tunnel. By passing directly through to lower Border Patrol agents, I skipped command and directly, a Border Patrol agent was able to skip his command and directly sought a warrant to raid the tunnel, which avoided tipping off any compromised commanders that were working with the cartel. Thus, why it resulted in such a big bust. Most importantly, it did not give time to remove photos that were on the walls on the Mexican side. Where our Joint Task Commander, who was a high-ranking Border Patrol, was actually in the photos in that house, posing with El Chapo and Felipe, his architect. And there were other U.S. Marine officers and Mexican law enforcement officers and military that were in those photos, okay, end quote. So just to be clear, he discovers this tunnel, somehow skips the chain of command. Now they find this massive tunnel and, oh, wait, why are military commanders and high up people in the military in pictures with El Chapo? What's going on here? I'm going to pause here to let you see an old news clip regarding this explosive discovery that Harry made.
The tunnel was called one of the most sophisticated drug smuggling schemes authorities have ever seen. Using jackhammers and torches, federal agents broke into the concrete reinforced tunnel at a warehouse in Douglas, Arizona. 30 feet underground, agents walked for 100 yards through the 5-foot-high tunnel. It took them under the Mexican border to a house in Agua Prieta. There, they found an air compressor, a sump pump, a small trolley car, and a hydraulic jack. It was used to lift up the floor inside the living room of the house, where the smugglers would start their illegal trip to the U.S. Authorities said when the tunnel wasn't being used for drug running, the smugglers would flood it with water.
Let's say we came over here with some technology trying to detect this. It would look like an underground stream if it was flooded.
Federal agents said the tunnel cost at least $1 million to build and had probably been in operation for 6 months to a year. Last November, customs agents received a tip that a sophisticated tunnel was being used to funnel cocaine into the United States.
This type of tunnel is not an amateur operation. It's a highly sophisticated engineering feat that took place.
Mexican authorities were also involved in the investigation and the raid. Earlier this month, police seized 2,000 pounds of cocaine, which they said came into the U.S. through the tunnel. The drugs were headed for Southern California.
And what's not said in that news clip is there were pictures of United States military men in that house. What happens next is predictable, given what we now know. Harry's superiors take the credit for the bust, and he's going to continue what happens. I'm going to, again, quote him verbatim. Quote, "On the surface, I was given a small reward, an Army medal. I have the write-ups for those awards mentioning me and my critical role in this mission's success. That said, U.S. Border Patrol members who recognized me as being the agent responsible for the bust did not like seeing that I wasn't being appreciated more and resented my higher-ups for taking the credit for the discovery. Somehow, in the immediate days after the bust, prior to the United States side getting the photos from the Mexican authorities, my information was given to the cartels. In continuing the mission, me and one Border Patrol agent were sent to Naco, Arizona, where I was approached by a cartel member confirming my identification by rattling off my mother's name, address, my high school, my friends, everything listed in my clearance packet, which was supposed to be locked in custody, in the custody of the Joint Task Force 6 commander, whose picture was with El Chapo and about to be discovered. We avoided being taken hostage or shot, sneaking away and driving out of that little town. I was taken back to Fort Huachuca with the U.S. Border Patrol agent I was with, believing, since I was just a young 20-year-old, that I must have somehow compromised my own ID. The next day, I had a debrief with the Army Criminal Investigation Division and a prosecutor from Tucson, Arizona, informing me of how my ID became compromised. I was told that I was then going to be put in witness protection. My orders restricted me from any further work in counter narcotics, from being stationed on or south of the border, and it prevented me from working with Border Patrol. It was a Band-Aid while they prepared and got approval for me to be put into witness protection. Also, to protect me, the mission and the prosecutions, I was also put under an NDA gag order, which was dated out, right? Look, it says 1990, to May of 2025 to prevent me from mentioning this entire ordeal. The witness protection entrance never happened. The ball got dropped. I never got contacted for it. From what we uncovered, a deal was made with the compromised U.S. Border Patrol agent commander. Okay, so let's pause and just recap there very quickly. And I'm going to tell you what this has to do with Charlie Kirk, okay? So I guess in a sentence, a young military man did his job excellently. He accidentally stumbled upon, or actually, accidentally stumbled upon the fact that our government was implicated, not in fighting the cartels, but working with the cartels. And suddenly he realizes after some time that the government then feeds him, or somebody spitefully, perhaps his commander, fed him to the cartels. And now he's on the run for his life. What happens over the course of the next 35 years is he's hacked. He says that he goes through abusive litigation. He is harassed. He says there are narco attorneys that attack his credit. He has police records, by the way, for all of this. He has presented evidence for this. But throughout a certain point in time, these police records were virtually disappeared. He had been reporting that hitmen were coming after him. He had names. This was a 35 years long ordeal. He now has all of his paperwork thanks to some county clerks who did the right thing and were able to dig up these records. But you name it, this man has lived it throughout the last 35 years, okay? Fast forward to May of 2025, May of this year, and Harry Myers, who now has a new name, by the way, which I'm not saying, but he is finally released from this 35-year military-grade NDA. So what does this now 56-year-old decide to do? He decides that he's going to confront his past. He wants answers, okay? He wants to know why he was never protected. He wants to know if the FBI had been informed, and if so, which they were supposed to be, why they didn't do their job. Why didn't they protect Harry? He was working for the military and he did his job. He makes up his mind that he's going to deal with this in person. He is going to travel from his home in Washington back down to the very base where this all began, right? To Fort Huachuca, in Arizona. He's going to revisit the past. He's going to get these answers. He books himself to stay in a hotel on the base, a military hotel known as Candlewood Suites. And this is on the evening of September 8th. I want you to remember that, okay? He has been so thorough. He has sent me timestamps, bookings, reservations, went through his call logs. I was like, I want you to pinpoint when everything happened. So he gets to the Candlewood Suites at approximately, on September 8th, 5:37 p.m., checks into the hotel. And you can imagine he's a person that pays a lot of attention to his surroundings, right? When the cartels are after you and your family and you are compelled to change your name, you pay attention to your surroundings to see if anybody looks shady. What he notices is somebody who is special forces in the lobby. He said, you just know when you're dealing with a special forces guy. And he is in the lobby, and a young woman, comes down thereafter. That young woman, who at the time he did not recognize, is with him. They kind of fluff around in the lobby while he's checking in. He's on the phone with his wife. And thereafter, the two of them get into a green pickup truck and they drive off. Okay. The next morning, now we're September 9th, he wakes up at around 5:30 a.m. in the morning because he wants to see the sunrise. He says that he then fails at finding the Army Criminal Investigations Department. So he drives off base, just a little ways off base, to get some coffee in Sierra Vista. While getting that coffee, he runs into some soldiers. Again, this is just all God at this point, who happen to be wearing 10th Mountain Division patches. And he's like, that's my old unit. What's going on here? Like that, he thinks his unit's gone. Nothing's going on with this unit for a long time. That it's been torn apart, or I don't know what the military expression is for that. He strikes up a conversation with these young guys, and they tell him, "Oh no, the old Joint Task Force 6 is now being continued, and it's known as JTF, Joint Task Force Southern Border." Now, for those of you who are like me who don't know, like literally what it sounds like, Joint Task Force, meaning like you can get the Army, Navy, everybody kind of working together on something. And they're like, yeah, it's now JTF Southern Border. And they give him directions of how he can actually get to the new command center. They tell them that they're actually currently borrowing a building down there. And he tells me that there would have been no other way he would have discovered where it was. So his intention was to go to Army CID. Now he's like, wow, I can go directly to the actual JTF 6, which is now being continued, and get some answers. What luck. It is now around 7:37 a.m. when he enters the new or temporary JTF headquarters. And he sees two guys, and he's pretty impressed. He's like, whoa, these are, again, military term, E4, E5s. He told me that means that they're lieutenant colonels, and they are the ones that are checking him in. He happens to walk in at the exact time that they are concluding a meeting, and he is kind of even more impressed because he sees about 12 lieutenant colonels. He tells me, you do not see that many people, that many E4s, E5s, E6s. Please, military guys, forgive me for me not knowing what the proper vernacular. But he just goes, well, what's going on? He's like, you don't see this unless you're at the Pentagon or you're at the White House. You just don't see this many high up the food chain lieutenant colonels. He's going, man, this is a pretty important meeting. And then he sees 3 men walk out, one of which is the person he identifies as the person that's the center of the action, right? He said you could just tell this is the most important person. And he has gray hair. He's got glasses. I believe he said that he's about 5'10". And at this point, he sees that the person that is with him, and he said, certain that the person that is with him is Brian Harpel. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's about to get even more interesting. So, and again, I'm going to say allegedly because I wasn't there, but I have spoken to this guy and I very much trust what he is saying. I think he is very credible, okay? So he sees Brian Harpel come out, this older guy, and he has, what then happens is first the guys that are checking him in are friendly. He explains to them, yeah, this is what happened to me. I just want to speak to somebody. They're like, yeah, let me help you. Then all of a sudden after Brian, who he believes to be Brian Harpel, who he's not obviously recognized at that time, he would not have known that was Brian Harpel, but he remembers him, obviously, because then the biggest political assassination since JFK happens. Suddenly, somebody hits the panic button, and 2 captains come out, and they escort him out of the building, and they begin what becomes a 7-hour interrogation, okay? They think he's a spy. How did you rumble this meeting? How did you know this meeting was taking place? He's being asked a bunch of questions. They're putting pressure on him. They're gaslighting him. I actually want to, if you give me a second, I want to read exactly what he messaged me about what took place. Because it's just, it's incredible. It's actually just incredible how he describes what their strategy here of attempting to gaslight him into believing that he was a spy or that he was working for somebody. And he's like, no, I'm just here over an incident that happened 35 years ago. I'm trying to get answers regarding it, and they're putting pressure on him. I'm going to write this verbatim. He says he's being interrogated. He is, quote, being accused of being a bomb threat because I was special forces in the military, EOD in the military. They then attempted to try to gaslight me to see if they could angle an accusation of me being a threat to others or myself. When all of that fell flat, they then conferenced with base commander after I assumed they verified that I was not there to spy on that particular meeting. They decided it was okay to send me off post. That's when I drove to Tucson. I got a room. The next morning, I turned in my rental car. I got on a plane back home, and I had to stop in Salt Lake. Upon landing and turning on the phone, my wife is telling me about Charlie Kirk. And again, this was just a coincidence. I happened to be in the airport at the time that you are talking about all of those strange flights that were taking place there. I did not notice anything helpful other than the fact that the airport was not very crowded. So after 7 hours, he explains to me that they were going to, they debated holding him for 48 hours for this perceived, perhaps maybe bomb threat spy thing that's happening. And he's thinking, can you imagine this? They're paranoid, but he's paranoid and thinking, oh my gosh, this is more like Sinaloa cartel stuff. And I'm being treated like this because I've wanted to speak out about this story for 35 years. Both of them are wrong. Okay. Both of them are wrong. This really is just a coincidence. And adding to this coincidence is the fact and that he got the commander's name that obviously that questioned him for this long. He says this was the guy that was in charge, the commander. And he said he was approximately 36 years old. He had brown hair, the one I'm talking about that was leading the charge on asking him all the questions and interrogating him, and that his name was Captain Neff. I'm going. Now, I have the same question that you have because I've looked and it does seem that, and I never even questioned this, whether or not it's potential that Blake Neff has military connections as well. Like, I guess that kind of like, I just thought this is a producer of Charlie Kirk show, but it is interesting that somebody, and this would be brother, cousin, I don't know. This is the person that interrogated him. And eventually he says was a person that had a heart and realized that he was not a part of any spy network and eventually escorted him off of the base and onto his way. That's a lot of coincidence for me. Now he says to me, he communicated this to me very clearly. He said, Candace, I know how these meetings work. These are the meetings that are had ahead of an operation. Like when an operation is being confirmed, you have these final meetings and they involve all of the higher ups, and you are trying to do this in a very isolated location where, you know, people are not going to accidentally happen upon you because they've got something to say about what happened 35 years ago. And that is what he happened upon. And I don't know what to make of this information other than he feels that he then recognized these people. He feels certain that he recognized these people in the days following Charlie Kirk's assassination, when a bunch of people are doing Fox News. And obviously then we've got a massive event at a stadium and everybody is in front of the camera eulogizing him. He feels confident that he recognizes these people and that needs to be shared. He's willing to tell a story. Like I said, I have verified. He has sent me so many documents, everything from his like high school graduation certificate to his military documents, to the police records, to everything that he is speaking about that happened back then, NDAs, judges, things that he's been in court with fighting just to get out his story of what happened 35 years ago when he did the right thing, when he stumbled upon. And boy, does he have some luck. Boy, does he have some luck that he goes from one government conspiracy to what he now believes he stumbled upon, which would be another government conspiracy. Okay. He said that this commander, Neff, by the way, was the commander of force protection. Best he could tell, he did not get the first name. He did get an incident number, which I should have had prepared for you, but I can find it here in our chat because he sent me that too. He said there would have been no record for this if they didn't swarm me as if there was a bomb threat, because now, of course, there is an actual incident report, and he believes that this can be FOIA requested. And that report number, if you will bear with me, I'm going to read that to you all because I think this is going to take really the whole world to investigate. It is 8611-2025-MPC 446. So that is the report number that was given to him by this Captain Commander Neff. And like I said, he has given me I could have just put up documents upon documents, certifying that he was there, certifying that this happened, whether or not his descriptions and whether or not the people that he thinks he actually saw at this base, I don't know. What I will say is that something that I could easily have done was to see whether or not I asked him, did you see Dan Flood? No. Well, that checks out because Dan Flood was with Charlie in Korea. And I am wondering about that. Like, why would you want to go to Japan a day before you have a college campus event, right? You have Charlie on the 5th and on the 6th of September. He is in Korea doing an event. And then on the 7th, he's in Japan and he is on CNN News Japan speaking. And so, yeah, like on the 8th, if that's when he left, maybe he left on the 9th, you got a 12-hour flight back home. And I have questions and somebody out there knows something. And I don't know what to say other than this feels right. This feels right to me. This feels to me, as we were speaking about yesterday, about global trafficking and cartels and the government involved in this somehow and implicated in this somehow in ways that we don't quite understand, but that we know involves the highest possible levels of corruption, that this feels right. And like I said, he is not hiding. He is done hiding. He has been silenced for 35 years, running from his life and being gaslit about that, in the same way that I am being gaslit about that. And I have a very terrifying update for you regarding people that have been trying to assassinate me. And speaking to him was, I guess, like emotionally qualifying, because exactly what he's been going through, I've been going through. He didn't have the platform to be able to get his name out. And I said to him, like, do you want to come out? And he said, yeah, I've been silent for 35 years. He said, I watch your stuff and I can't believe that you got this email. And I said to him, the chances of me seeing this were basically slim to none. And it was the first email that was in my box, and I just called you. And I feel God moving in that. And despite just the utterly demonic and satanic action and the level of collusion that had to take place for 9/10 to happen, I do also know, as I have always known spiritually, that they wouldn't get away with it. And I think Charlie, whatever vision he had, in which he knew his life would be short, and which he knew that I would not let this go, because I somehow feel tied to it. And we're seeing more and more every day that somehow I am tied to this. I think that this is God operating. I really do. I think, bless this man. Thank you so much for your service to this country. I know that he said he would love to meet Ian Carroll, and I guess he's watching his stuff, and I will obviously make that happen and much more in the coming days. I don't expect the feds to reach out. I don't expect them to be interested in this angle or this potential meeting that I think they probably already knew about. I do hope, though, that somebody else saw something, and somebody knows the quickest way to FOIA request that stuff. Somebody knows how to get behind this so we can get information. I've given you the dates. I've given you the times. He has given so much more. And I know, I just thank God that I saw that email. We're going to pause there. And if you guys know anything, obviously email us at moretips@CandaceOwens.com. And we'll get through some sponsors that we are grateful for. All right, you guys, this holiday season, you can express your love with a very special gift of premium steaks from Riverbend Ranch. Their holiday bundles are only available while supplies last, and they're going to go very quickly. You can order your holiday gifts today at riverbendranch.com. If you haven't yet tried Riverbend Ranch steaks, it is time that you did, because I've never had a better steak in my entire life. For the last 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been creating an elite Angus herd by using ultrasound technology to select genetically superior cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness. They only use the top 1 or 2% of the entire Angus population as their breeding stock, producing beef that has much more flavor and tenderness than your average Angus beef. Each steak is aged to perfection for 21 days. All Riverbend Ranch cattle were born and raised right here in the USA. They never use growth hormones or antibiotics, and the beef is processed right at their ranch in their award-winning USDA-inspected processing facility. So you get to avoid the costly middlemen, because the beef is sent directly from Riverbend Ranch to your home, and you'll love the fact that you also get to support American ranchers. Right now, when you order from riverbendranch.com and you use promo code Candace at checkout, you will get $20 off your first order. Again, that's riverbendranch.com, promo code Candace at checkout. I also want to remind you guys about PreBorn, because when they double down on abortion, we have to double down on supporting life. Through our partnership with PreBorn, we can help save babies and support mothers that are in need, because every day, PreBorn's clinics rescue hundreds of babies, because when a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears that tiny heartbeat, her chance of choosing life doubles. And now, thanks to a generous match program, your gift can be doubled as well. That means twice as many ultrasounds, twice as many lives being saved, and twice as many mothers that are given hope. They're also provided diapers, car seats, counseling, and care for up to 2 years. If you've heard about PreBorn before and you've not yet taken action, there is no better time than right now. Their work is some of the most important work to help heal our country. One ultrasound is just $28, but you can give 10 times that amount if you are able to. Head to preborn.com/Candace to give. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, thank you guys who are correcting me in the chat. I am obviously very new to military terms, so you guys are saying it should be E5s and E6s. And he said that these are lieutenant colonels, and that it was a big brass meeting. He estimates that there were 12 to 13 lieutenant colonels that were in that meeting that he stumbled upon. And yeah, that's that. I'm going to leave that there. On that same note, though, however, I have no words, and I'm going to try to find them here for emails I did not expect to receive yesterday. Right after I spoke with him, I kept continuing on this in my tips inbox. And obviously yesterday we spoke about this Pierre in Scottsdale, and I had mentioned that he had a partner. Pierre Falcone had a partner named Arcadi Gaydamak. Didn't expect that to be relevant to anything, but they were both involved in Angola Gate, which was global trafficking at the highest levels of government. But this Arcadi Gaydamak didn't show up for his court hearing, and he just was sentenced in absence for trafficking weapons, et cetera, et cetera. I explained to you that he was born in Russia, and then when Israel became a nation, he was first over there. He was also factually, and you can see in this article, a French intelligence agent. Okay. Why am I bringing up Gaydamak? Well, after yesterday's episode, I had asked if anybody had anything or knew anything about, Turning Point potentially working with this Pierre person. I was shocked when a flutter of emails came in from people saying that they believed Gaydamak was living in Nashville, that he moved here sometime in June. Okay. And when I say a flurry of emails that came in, there were 7 people, mostly men, who were certain that that man, aged now, is working in Nashville using the name Jonathan Schmidt. They are certain, at the very least, that he is from Israel and that he is working for a company known as Root Brands under the guise of being a technology officer, and that he has brought in and secured jobs for Ukrainians. And again, this has all transpired since apparently June. Ukrainians who he alleges are running from the war. They say he was brought in by a businessman in town named Clay Thomas, and that one of the Ukrainians that is working with him, his name is Alex Smirnov. Now, I don't know what to say other than I am positively terrified. I don't know who to contact, considering the feds. I've been telling them that there's an assassination attempt in coordination. I have said Israel, I have said France, and now I have dealt with, I have these emails, more credible information. And if it's incorrect, I'm happy to correct it. I reached out to Clay Thomas. I have reached out to Root Brands, and I have requested more information about this Russian-Israeli employee who is using the name Jonathan Schmidt and bringing in Ukrainians. And so instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to publicize this information in the hope that if you are a Tennessean and you live in Franklin and you live in Nashville and you are familiar with Root Brands and you have seen this man, and Skylar, I don't know if we have an aged photo of him, but we should try to find one. Please, first off, you should probably contact the authorities. I certainly will be doing that. I think my husband has already done that. I told him to do that this morning. I have definitively run that to the only office that has responded, and I think taken my threat, or has wanted to respond, I should say, to the threat that I've been saying about the French intelligence agencies working with Israel. And that is Tulsi Gabbard's office. I am doing everything that I can, but I am telling you that this is very scary. And if you are in Tennessee, anything, if you know this Jonathan Schmidt and you've seen him around town, if you're a real estate agent, they said he was shopping for a home in the Brentwood area. If you have seen this individual anywhere in Nashville, for the love of God, please send us an email, moretips@candaceowens.com. And I am encouraging you to contact your authorities if you are hearing any sob stories from anyone about how they're coming in from Ukraine and that they're fleeing the war, okay? I think you should contact the authorities immediately. We don't need to have a presence of Ukrainians that are quote unquote fleeing the war in Tennessee. And, I trust the Tennesseans to get this done and to pay attention. And I want to say this, by the way, everywhere in America, I've heard there's a major influx of Ukrainians, quote unquote, fleeing that are building up in Washington. That is something to be worried about, you guys. That is something to be very concerned about, okay? Because it is during wars where the most dangerous people are allowed into other countries under the guise of being refugees. That is how they take over other countries. And you need to keep your eyes and your ears peeled for how these Ukrainian, quote unquote, refugees are organizing. I don't think there's a reason for any Israeli intelligence and French intelligence officers to be here in Nashville. So again, if you know something, please email us, moretips@CandaceOwens.com. If you work for the local FBI department, you should have been hearing from us, but if you would like to directly contact us, please email us. We will be looking out. And like I said, Root Brands apparently is who has hired this individual under the guise of working under a technology officer. He's supposed to be a billionaire, so why would he be working at all if this is the correct individual? I'm not buying the name Jonathan Schmidt. I will say that for an Israeli who should be living in Tel Aviv. And I do not believe he's legally allowed to be in this country. So at the very least, perhaps also if you're watching this and you are an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent, please get involved. I will have more for you hopefully in the coming days. But this is very scary, very scary. And I was always telling the truth about the coordination of an assassination attempt, which involved Israel and French intelligence agencies. Now, on that note, I am obviously taking a lot of personal risk to get out the truth to you guys pertaining to what is happening to Charlie Kirk. One of the easiest things in the world is to be a critic of Candace Owens and a part of the people who do not have the courage to prod this federal narrative. Among those, of course, being Tim Pool, who has now dedicated hours and now is trying to signal to the public that I don't have security, which is untrue, but he is trying to get me harmed. I don't know what I've ever done to Tim Pool to deserve that at all. But Tim Pool has had some very choice words for me, which were trending last night on X. And I would like to share that to you because he thinks it's an act of bravery to attack me in this moment. So take a listen to Tim Pool.
Candace Owens is a f***ing evil scumbag. She is a degenerate. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you told me? She has no security. She doesn't deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer, and all of these conservatives out there that send me these messages have no balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't DM me like I did something for you as you cower, as you cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which he's doing to me right now.
Yeah, that was the...
I'm done with these people.
She has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two no one's out for her. She's lying about all of this. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a about her security. Meanwhile, I get bullets fired at my property, and I have to go live in the middle of nowhere. And I got strangers coming up to my house in Maryland, breaking in. I got people showing up and beating up the residents who try to live there. How the am I even supposed to sell this property?
So there's a lot to unpack there. First and foremost, what you are seeing right there is on a display of testosterone. Men that speak to women like this are not tough guys, okay? What you are seeing is actually a display of estrogen. Everything he is doing there is somebody who is not a man. He is not tough, and he would never dare to speak to a man like that, right? People that find that very easy. Secondly, Tim Pool doesn't even have the intellect to understand that we put him in the thumbnail because he accused me in a full episode with Milo Yiannopoulos, which we showed and contextualized, of being someone who benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination. So he thinks he's being accused. No, you accused me of that in like a actually, I think it was 2-hour episode with Milo Yiannopoulos, in which Milo defended me and explained that I am not to blame for the lame excuses that the feds have given us regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. And that if we do need to have some spiritual searching in terms of what the Republican Party has become, that the time for that is now. Okay. So this little, and I really like, he's a small person for this, a very small person who is also theatrical, Timothy Smollett, who pretends every year like people are trying to kill him. He's a chronic fence sitter, okay? Pretending like he is braving the wilderness for being what? The 110,000th person who's making a video about Candace Owens in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. He thinks he's pioneering that. Are you out of your mind? It's only the safest thing you can do. What's next? Is he going to make a video and call Kanye West anti-Semitic? Like that's what he's pioneering right now. Oh my gosh, so original. Like, is he going to call Donald Trump evil in 2016? This is the storm that he's braving, is jumping on the side of what everyone else is doing. He is a fundamentally weak man for what he did there. He should apologize. He won't. I don't care what happens to his platform. He's now essentially trying out because he's under financial pressure. He's trying out for a Zionist to pay him, and they will. Okay, they will cut him a check, and I hope it happens for you, Tim. I hope it makes you happy. But to do that to someone who has never done anything to you other than disagree with you about the Charlie Kirk narrative, I have not focused my content on you, and anytime your name has come up, it has been because you have explicitly been attacking me. You are a coward. You are less than a man. Okay? You are behaving, your type right there is like a person who's having financial issues and yet decides to go out and put $100K on a poker game. And when he loses and is a further $100K in the hole, comes back home and beats his wife and kids and thinks he's a tough guy. That's how you're acting right now. I'm not your wife. I'm not your kids. Get your affairs in order and stop blaming me, because I'm actually traversing down the path that hasn't been traveled by standing up and saying that something corrupt happened and Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I don't care about your midterms. Okay, I don't care about your next year midterms and whether or not the Republican Party is united, okay? Because I don't want to stand next to people that would cover up Charlie Kirk's assassination. I hope that I have made my point perfectly clear. We'll be back after a message from some of our sponsors. All right, you guys, it is getting cold outside. December is here. The weather is dry. And if you are anything like me, your skin is certainly feeling it. This is a time of year when we all need a little extra help keeping our skin moisturized, healthy, and glowing. And you guys already know that I love what Nimi Skincare is doing this Christmas season, because while every other brand is tiptoeing around on eggshells, trying to be super inclusive with their happy holiday messaging, Nimi is saying no to that. Their entire website is decked out for Christmas, bright, joyful, unapologetic, and I could not be more here for it. Now, if you are wondering what I am personally using right now, well, the Tennessee winters are also no joke, and my skin can get dry fast, so I've been using Nimi's Sunshine Tallow Cream, pairing it with their Buzzin' Tallow Balm, and honestly, my skin has never been softer. There's no dryness, no cracking, just rich moisture that lasts all day. These formulas are clean, simple, and they work. And yes, they make incredible gifts for the women in your life who appreciate great skincare and American-made values. Moms, sisters, daughters, grab a few and you will thank me later. And here's the deal. If you use code Candace10, you will get 10% off your order at NIMIskincare.com. Again, that's NimiSkincare.com. So don't wait. Get your skincare exactly what it needs this winter. Treat yourself, grab a couple of gifts, and support a brand that actually stands for something this Christmas season. Also, remind you guys about American financing, because what if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? Well, you could put that money instead into your pocket and finally get a little bit of breathing room ahead of the holiday season. It is possible when you call American Financing, and if you call them today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills that are piling up, then you should know that you're not alone, because most Americans are putting these expenses on credit cards, and credit card rates are insane right now, in the 20s, even the 30s. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt with rates in the low fives. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and save money every month, all without any upfront fees. Their customers are saving an average of $800 a month, which is like a $10,000 raise without having to change jobs. So call American Financing today. The number is 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens, AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. All right, you guys, if you would like to support our work, obviously you can head to CandaceOwens.com and you can buy some merch. You can also sign up for our book club. You can gift somebody with a subscription to our book club. Make Him a Sandwich is available on Amazon. It is also available at makehimasandwich.com. You will absolutely love this book. It's great in time for the holidays. And yeah, I think that it's a laugh out loud funny book without trying to be funny. It's just kind of recapping all of the things that we have done in the quote unquote feminist movement. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that. Signed copies of that are only available on CandaceOwens.com, by the way. And we have some new merch. I think we just went over that briefly on the website. Lastly, we'll get into some of your comments. The top comment from yesterday's episode was, I love that quote unquote Fed slop is becoming a mainstream vocabulary word. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Like since we've been saying let's Fed slop, a lot of people are recognizing Fed slop and deciding that they do not wish to consume it, right? That's not what you want to consume, a Fed slop narrative. The comments from today's episode, I don't know my computer's, okay, never mind. It was kind of freezing, but now it's not. Alyssa writes, Candace, you are teaching the world a new form of investigative journalism that it has never seen. You are impacting history in front of our eyes. The power of the collective is unstoppable, and you prove that daily. Sending prayers and love from Montana. I hope that is the reality, because I'm telling you, I trust Tennesseans more than I trust the feds right now. And I'm trusting Tennessean men now to keep their eyes and their ears peeled. And I hope that I can be in safe hands that way, because Kash Patel is just not interested. And it is a struggle for me to believe that they didn't know about this French angle in the Charlie Kirk assassination. They did know. Allison Berry writes, no matter the lies or anyone's business saying about you investigating what happened, I want you to know that we, the people, are riding with you all the way through. We know this corruption is multinational. Thank you for what you do. Yes, and I would like to encourage you guys to also get behind the people who are brave, are equally as brave, right? Ryan Matta has been amazing on X. Melissa, I always tell you about Melissa. Mel is Village Crazy Lady. She does really great work. And I keep wrongly branding her. I'm laughing as a Catholic. A couple weeks ago, she's like, I'm not Catholic. I'm like, I am so sorry. I don't know why I thought she was Catholic. I made that up. Hopefully she will be sued. Okay. That's what I will say to that. And she's doing a really great job, particularly focusing on that faith angle, because I do believe that the faith was the infiltration at Turning Point USA. And it is, by the way, a fact that in recent, in the last year, they even hired former cartel weapons traffickers at Turning Point USA who found God. Okay. So they were trafficking from Poland through to Mexico, weapons and drugs, but then they found God. Unemployment. Like, I don't know what to make of that. Who am I to question somebody saying that they found God? But Arizona is quite a place, and I worry about what happened. And when you get to a certain level in business, they offer you what they say. What is the expression? It's either the silver or the lead. You take the money, or you take the bullet. And I wonder if that was presented to Charlie. I wonder if that's why he was fearful the day before when he messaged people and said, they are going to kill me. Who was he referring to? Do you guys believe that it was a gendered person on top of a rooftop? I don't. I certainly don't. Maybe Tim Pool does. Coralia Montalvo writes, may God be with you and your family, Candace. Keep telling the truth. You have a whole army supporting you. And by the way, like this guy proves, there are a lot of incredible men in the military. It is always at the top where corruption happens. And I hope that you take away from this that we are infiltrated as a nation. We have gangs that are controlling a lot, and that we need to make our community smaller. We need to know who people are in our communities. We need to sense that stranger danger maybe not be so entertained by a foreign accent and wondering more. You know, we need to become our own little CIA units or DCIA units in our own communities and share information. And yeah, I hope that's what we are pioneering here, because we certainly cannot trust the government to take care of us if they didn't take care of Charlie Kirk. And maybe that's it. Maybe people are terrified. Maybe that's what they've known all along, is that the cartels could have been involved in this. And yeah, that might be it. I don't know. It might be it. I'm just following the facts. Amanda Marias writes, we love you, lady. I'm so sorry you're going through this. You have a whole... Oh, I just read that. I'm sorry. Gracie Lou writes, there is no TPUSA without Charlie. I've never seen such a group of disingenuous groups, the likes of Andrew, Blake, Mikey, Tyler, etc. It's heartbreaking on top of heartbreak. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Continued prayers for you and yours. Thank you so much. Mary Yvette writes, Candace Security Fund. You know what? I actually said to my husband, like, we need to actually build our own security. We do, from the ground up. Like, we just need to build our own security and know who these people are and know everyone. And because this Brian Harpole thing has given me a chill, and this Dan Flood stuff has given me a chill, and maybe we will actually accept that offer and start a fund in the coming days, or, you know, in the coming weeks. I don't know how long it would take to put it together. I will run that to my husband. I actually think that that is a good idea. I think we need to, this thing has really scared me, this French intelligence thing, and the lack of commentary from the White House. This thing is really far reaching. The good and the true and the beautiful writes, go Max, Candace. Thank you so much. And this person writes, what do you think Tim Pool's beanie smells like? That is funny. I do not ever want to know the answer to that question. Lastly, P. Fagliano writes, wearing my Candace swag today and getting only nods and smiles, nothing negative. Thank you, Candace, for your courage. Yeah, I think we, the normal people who have decided to stay on the side of light rather than to pledge a gang, we have never been more together. I love it. I love it. I love the left and the right together. And I hate that it had to be Charlie Kirk's assassination that brought us this way, but I'm happy to be here. And I'm not going back to, like, what about the midterm? Shouldn't we just stay united and stand behind and like, you be quiet? I'm not going back that way, and I hope you guys aren't either. Anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow.